Hello, Scorpion Nation. This is Tim Hankinson, the new head coach of the San Antonio Scorpions. And I've been watching your Facebook questions, and I've got a number of questions in front of me from fans, and I wanted to read them and also have the opportunity directly to try and answer them. Chris Hockman asks, will you come in with a style and look for players to fit that, or will you look for players and let that style dictate the style? There are a couple of parts to that, Chris. First of all, I had a player named Carlos Valderrama, whose style clearly dictated the way the team needed to play. But other than Carlos, there are very few players in the world whose style dictates that. And therefore, I have to formulate a plan, a foundation for the team stylistically to look for players to fit. And quite honestly, if you look at all the champions around the world, Spain in the World Cup, you look at the Mexican national team, you look at Manchester United, Barcelona, there is one common element. It's not about who's crossing the ball and attacking from the wings or attacking directly. It's not about who's playing physically or less physically. It's one common element, and that's the ability to have players that individually and as a team can keep possession. And therefore, we will search and look and identify players who are great possession players. From there, that gives you a foundation to look for specialty players like goal scorers to build off of. Hope that satisfies. Next question, Jorge Rocky Mata. With a strong Mexican league, soccer following in South Texas, and no other American professional team, how do the Scorpions hope to reach out to the fans in Laredo, Corpus Christi, and Rio Grande Valley areas? It's going to be very simple. We're going to look to have open tryouts at satellite locations, cities just as you suggested, to look for local talent, players in those areas that might potentially be future Scorpions. But in addition to that, I think the ability to bring exhibition games to those areas, whether it's against Houston Dynamo reserves or the first team or inter-squad matches, to become a part of your community, and so you can be a part of the Scorpion Nation, is certainly something we'll be working on to plan. Kevin Martin will ask, will you constrain players' style or adapt it? Obviously, every player is different, and every player must adapt. There are some, as I've mentioned, in Carlos Valderrama, that clearly you do not try to change, but you fit everything around. But most players have to adapt, both at their primary position and finding a secondary position. And also we have to prioritize every player's role so that each player understands who's working for who in what situation, who's going to cover for who. When you get those ideas down and everyone's on the same page, it allows you to play dynamically. Roger Mendoza, what type of defenders, attackers, etc.? What style of play, and what are the philosophies as a coach and the identity he was trying to build for the Scorpions as a new NASL team? Let's start with the last part. The NASL is an attacking league. There is no one sitting back trying to steal a point, and therefore having an attacking team that can meet those challenges is going to be very important for us. Some of the positions like defenders you mentioned, in my feeling and philosophy of the game, there are three playmakers on the field. There's the typical playmaker that plays close to the strikers, trying to create the final pass or to open defenses. But there are also other key playmaking positions, the left and the right back, that typically in history teams and coaches have put their worst players at. But for me, these two players are very key and essential because all the play starts through them. If the keeper's in possession, they play out the right or the left back. If the center backs have the ball, it eventually ends up at the right or the left back. If you can't progress forward in the midfield, it comes back and goes to the right or the left back. So we've seen around the world how important it is for these players to have the technical ability to go forward and serve out of those positions and be dangerous out of those positions. So those will be two of the key areas that we look to add to the program. Chris Owen asks, what is the age bracket? I'm 27 and want to try out for defense. In this first team, it is not going to be built around necessarily youth or senior players. We'll have a balance. I think the great teams always have a balance between the two. The experienced players guide the young ones, and the young ones bring that fire and ambition to grow as players and have breakthroughs. So age is not the important factor, and tryouts will be announced within a week, and those tryouts will be very geared around half-field games and full-size games, so make sure that you're getting fit and ready for that. Tulio Diaz, do you feel honored to be part of the beginning of a great story that the Scorpion will do in football? You know, Tulio, starting a program from scratch, a blank piece of paper, is a unique experience as a coach. Normally, we are going in as a replacement coach to clean up a mess, which I've done a number of times in Major League Soccer. Once before in Division II, there was a team called the Charleston Battery that I basically originated and got to start from scratch. I know the work involved and how hard it is to get that first team ready and prepared to win. This will be a much bigger challenge because of the dynamics of San Antonio. This is a passionate city. We saw that at the press conference today with the media, and therefore the expectations will be even higher. So, but I am looking forward to it. I am honored, and it's a very exciting moment for me as a coach, and I hope to be able to bring a great winning attacking side to the fans. Tulio, you had 2 questions, and actually 3. You're testing me. As a coach, do you want to actively participate in the hiring of support staff and players? Absolutely. I will be searching and interviewing coaches to join me that believe in the same philosophy. It's important that we not have conflict within the staff, but that everyone is in support of each other's ideas, and yet not so much that we don't test each other's ideas. It's also important stylistically. You know, the sport is not like some American sports that are very statistically geared, and therefore evaluating a player is very subjective, and it's of the eye of the beholder. And there are a lot of intangibles like competitiveness in the player, his resiliency when he's put under pressure. But by all means, we certainly will be hands-on with that process contractually, and making those final decisions will be really on my lap at the end of the day. So if you don't like something, blame me. Tulio, another question. What is your work philosophy? Plans to build around younger teams, team players, or more experienced, or technical team in its players? Again, as I've said before, it's a balance between young and experienced players that make the best makeup of a team. Clearly, the beautiful game is played when players have strong technical ability. The ability to individually, under pressure, escape situations or beat situations are the type of players we're looking for. So a high level of technique and possession ability individually, and also players who have their eyes open, a vision of the game, to be able to have a good style as a team in playing possession football. Hector Gallegos, what most excites you about this organization? What are your realistic goals for the season? What club, team, or footballer sparked your interest in football? The last question, I was 5 years old, and I had a German coach that put the ball on the sole of his foot and rolled it back and balanced it on his foot, and I've been hooked ever since. But clearly I've had some mentors along the way. At Arsenal, we signed Gilles Grimandi when I was with the Colorado Rapids, and I had the great opportunity to understudy for a period of weeks under Arsene Wenger. Some of his, even though he's been going through a bit of a drought, his training methods to create speed of play in his players is very exciting. And I went into Scotland for a Scottish FA license many years ago, and this will show you how many years ago. And my staff coach was Alex Ferguson of Manchester United, but at that time he was coaching Aberdeen, so this is pre-Man United days. And I greatly learned a great deal about his coaching methods, and I try to mix those and combine my own ideas, and that will be the foundation of Scorpion training. Johnny Boy Linfield Carson, any tryouts for players from Europe? We're open. I mean, this is day 1, and I have a blank sheet of paper. We will be planning in the next couple of days tryout dates. There will be a series of dates starting with different age groups so that we can have smaller numbers and evaluate more fully rather than mass numbers and not do a fair job to the players. So as these dates are announced and locations, you know, keep in touch with the website. That'll be announced there, and you'll have your opportunity.